This is my audience. Okay. Have you ever gotten news that completely turned your life upside down, but not in the way that you hoped for? When I was 12 years old, my parents sat me down with huge smiles on their faces. Since they were so excited, I assumed this was going to be good news, like we were going on vacation or getting a new family pet. But to my surprise, they told me they were having another baby. I just sat there in shock, and they were full of happiness. I had always loved babies, and since I only had a brother, I was hoping that I would have a little sister. I'm sure that everyone who's had little siblings knows how big of a change it is, but what I didn't know was I was going to hear those words a total of 3 times at ages 12, 14, and 16, and it was going to teach me patience, nurturing, and how to be empathetic. Finally, my new baby sister Myra had arrived, but unfortunately for us, she had colic, which meant hours of non-stop crying and sleepless nights. Nobody could sleep, everyone was stressed out, and I started to hate the noise and chaos that came with having a new baby sibling. I just felt so angry, wishing that things could go back to normal, but over time, I started realizing that she wasn't crying just to annoy everyone or just to cry, but she was in pain and just couldn't express what was wrong. Slowly, I learned how to be patient and help comfort her to help my parents instead of just getting so frustrated. It wasn't easy by any means, but that experience taught me more about patience and empathy than anything else could. 2 years later, my parents told me they were pregnant again, this time with my brother Drake, and I completely broke down. I cried and refused to speak to them for days because all I could think about was the colic that we had just survived with my baby sister. I didn't want to go through the sleepless nights, the endless crying all over again. I was angry and scared for things to change, and honestly exhausted before he was even born. But when Drake finally arrived, everything changed. He was perfect, calm, peaceful, and everything that I didn't expect. All that anger suddenly went away, and I realized that maybe being a big sister wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be again. After Drake was born, I thought that we were finally done, but when I was 16, learning to drive and trying to navigate high school, my parents sat me down and told me they were having another baby. This time there was no yelling or anger before like there was with Drake. I wasn't mad, I was just tired and scared of how things would change again. But when Jude arrived, like always, everything was calm and it just made sense. The moment I held him, I realized he was the missing piece that I didn't even know that we needed. At 12, 14, and 16, I thought my life was falling apart each time, but it was really just the beginning of change for the better. What I didn't know was that I was going to hear those exact words a total of 3 times, and each one would teach me how to be more patient, nurturing, and empathetic. Myra taught me patience through the sleepless nights. Drake showed me how love can replace anger, and Jude reminded me that sometimes what we least expect ends up being exactly what we need. Through all the chaos, I learned that life isn't about staying the same and being comfortable, but it's about growing even when it's hard. I can't imagine my life without any of them, and I'm grateful for how each of them shaped me into who I am today. And for my visual aid, this is my little sister Myra. And